Now, I'll be the first to admit that Death Stranding never looked like my type of game. The memes around it, tied with the fact that it came out during a period in my life where, honestly, I was just too busy trying to graduate from college, and you have the perfect storm for a game that was meant to be put in the backlog with a dozen others. To add fuel to the fire, it has been sitting in my PlayStation Plus library for at least a year, just really waiting for me to jump into it when I had the time to play it and experience it for all it's worth. Though that opportunity never came, and looking forward it probably will now that I've played the second entry, I still found myself entranced by the hype surrounding the second entry in the series releasing this year. It always looked like a game that I would enjoy, and honestly, I have to admit, after almost 40 hours, it is exactly what I was looking for in an open world adventure. Welcome to my review of Death Stranding 2. The story of Death Stranding 2 is an emotional ride, much in the tune of the first game. You play as Sam, voiced by my favorite grizzled zombie killer Norman Reedus, almost a year after the events of Death Stranding 1. Now retired and living a life of relative peace after connecting the chiral network, Sam and his adopted daughter Lou are visited by none other than Fragile, who informs Sam that she has founded a new company, Drawbridge, who has been contracted by the UCA to extend the network he connected in the US down into Mexico. Sam hesitantly accepts her offer of helping Drawbridge, only on the condition that he is officially pardoned by the UCA after he went off the grid at the end of Death Stranding 1. In these first few hours, you are more or less thrown back into the mix with Sam and get reacquainted with the type of story we can expect. Now, in the interest of not ruining a single smidge of this game's amazing story, I'm going to be very broad in the details that I give as far as the story elements that drive us forward. Through some familiar faces as well as some new ones, Sam and Drawbridge learn of an anomaly known as the Plague Gate, which acts as a portal to other sections of the world where others have survived the titular Death Stranding. Through this same section, you learn that not only is Lou not registered with the UCA, but she was given a number belonging to a decommissioned BB. Once you do connect the Mexican continent to the chiral network in this tutorial-like section of the game, the group is attacked and this pushes Sam and Drawbridge towards a new goal on a different continent entirely. From this point onwards, the continent of Australia becomes your main stomping grounds. Reeling after the events of the attack, Sam and Drawbridge continue onwards with the UCA's goal of connecting the other continents to the chiral network, meeting new friends and enemies along the way. The story aspects of the game once you reach Australia are along the same lines that you'd expect if you were a fan of the first one. Long cutscenes and information being fed to the player at a slow pace are what you can expect from these first few hours to the last act. Things are always presented to you in a way that makes sense, and most of the reveals and big story moments hit so hard because Sam is experiencing them with you. Even as someone who hasn't even played the first game, nearly every big reveal in this set of characters was presented in a way that I can't imagine the type of emotions I would be feeling if I had had more time with them. The story is one that hits on nearly every note and caters to the emotional connections that these characters have with each other. The character development is obscenely beautiful to see in action, and with a host of new and returning characters from enemies to friends, you'll more than likely love every moment if you are an enjoyer of sprawling emotional adventures. Kojima has once again proved that he is pretty much a master at creating an experience from a story perspective that will be remembered for years to come. It does what many games have tried to do in creating a story that relies on both the little moments and the huge ones to push the narrative forward. From the shortest cutscene to the longest, you'll feel every emotion and laugh and cry with the characters in a way that I haven't experienced in a long time. Sam's journey is one filled to the brim with loss and love in the same breath, and I can't wait for others to experience it in all its glory. Now, as far as the world this story inhabits, I just have to say that this is probably going to be remembered as one of the most beautiful games of this generation. From the moment you load into the game, you are presented with sprawling mountain ranges and arid deserts that very much look and feel like you are actually there. Once you actually make it to the continent of Australia, the beauty and true power of the Decima engine are put on full display. You have sprawling deserts with blood-red dunes, lush green forests, and snow-capped peaks miles up in the air that all feel like living, breathing environments. There is no shortage of things to look at, and honestly, from a world-building perspective, everything feels and functions as great as it looks. Pair this expansive playground with the fact that you're almost always going to be building structures to assist with navigating these biomes and using other players' placements to help as well, and you really do have a huge area to traverse and deliver goods as you see fit. I will admit at first I wasn't too sold on the world as the Mexico map is quite small, but once you make it to Australia, I can almost guarantee you'll be spending at least half your time driving from point A to point B, jamming to the amazing music selection, and taking in the scenery around you. The prettiness of the world extends beyond just the endless miles of lush nature around you to the man-made settlements peppered around the map. From the huge, intricately placed human sanctuaries to your own bridges and roads, everything has that feel that you are the modern world trying to claim this wild wilderness to make it your own. I mean, honestly, I can't give enough praise to Kojima and his team for what they've accomplished on a graphical level. I will be the first to admit that I almost always run games on performance mode, as the extra frames are always more important to me than the slight graphical upgrades. But this game ran so well out the gate that I played it through on its default setting the whole time. Never had any frame drops, never noticed any pop-ins or stutters, and honestly, I didn't have any problems from a graphical perspective. I mean, just look at the clips I've posted, the graphics really do speak for themselves. Now, the gameplay loop is where I think a lot of the criticism is going to come from. It very much fills the UPS simulator meme in the first few hours, and I can see a world where impatient people don't make it out of Mexico. I am here to tell you that you shouldn't let those first 2 or 3 hours sway your judgment of this game from a gameplay perspective. The game may still have you filling orders and traversing the map much in the same way as the first game, but I have to admit there's a ton of combat you can get your hands dirty with. From standard bandits to the terrifying goo-infested robots and other entities you fight, you have quite a challenge on your hands for the most part. Does this improved combat system mean that there are less missions where your whole goal is just to deliver goods or parts to other bases? Well, no. The fundamental gameplay aspects that existed in the first entry are still here, but I would be doing the game as a whole disservice if I didn't say that it's by every extension of the word a fun loop. You are driving across vast swaths of land with something to do at every turn. There's rarely nothing to do, and the fact that you can engage in pretty varied combat at all around the map on top of the core delivery loop made the experience more than fun, and honestly I enjoyed it for the most part. Another facet of the combat that impressed me more than I'm willing to admit is the varied range of bosses that you encounter throughout the story and while you are roaming out in the world. These range from your standard bad guys, who I don't want to spoil, who function on more or less the same level as Sam as far as size and kind of how they function, and then you have the big bad set piece bosses that are giant BTs whose only purpose is to smash you to bits. I thoroughly enjoyed the boss battles and honestly didn't find them too hard, as they are pretty simple in that your only goal is to kill them before they kill you. What's puzzling to me about some of these fights is that there are some pretty big gaming sites that are pushing their readers to skip the boss fights entirely, and I have to disagree with that method of tackling the game. You aren't really given that much of a challenge with most of these, as they aren't extremely hard, and they are honestly a good way to break up the standard gameplay loop that we all know is going to be happening at every second of the game. They're big, they're bad, and they're extremely cool looking, and honestly I highly recommend digging in your heels and going to war with each of them, as they do provide a good amount of satisfaction when you take them down. When you look at the game from a gameplay perspective without the usual run and gun or delivery facets, you get into what I think is one of the best aspects of Death Stranding as a whole. While you're roaming around the world and kind of exploring a bit, you're bound to see dozens, if not hundreds, of different structures, from generators to bridges, all of which are placed by players just like you. This feature makes it so not only are you helping yourself when you build a bridge or other structures, but you're also helping others across the map. This makes the experience of roaming around the map almost feel like a survival game, as you're almost always going to be surrounded by buildings and other structures put up by other people to assist in their journey. The best part about this is, as soon as you unlock a base by connecting it to the chiral network, every building that other players have spawned in appears and you have access to everything around you. It really adds a living world aspect to an otherwise beautifully crafted open world that makes you feel like you are not only helping yourself when you build things, but helping those around you. Now for my closing thoughts. Death Stranding 2 on the beach is a testament to what gaming should be. Its story is a beautifully presented tale of loss and hope wrapped into the one of the most graphically stunning packages that feels like a true current-gen experience. Though the core gameplay loop of being a porter is still very much the focus, every gameplay system from the first game has been improved and excels on every level. Kojima has once again proved he belongs with the titans of the industry, and Death Stranding 2 stands as another shining pillar in his already impressive portfolio of games. So, I'll be the first to admit, like I said in my intro, Death Stranding never looked like my type of game, and well, they proved me wrong. This game will no doubt be in the Game of the Year contention, and I honestly think it deserves it about the same as Expedition 33, if not more. It feels like a game that had a ton of pressure on it, being a PS5 exclusive, and so in a year that the PS5 hasn't really released that much stuff. And I have to admit, it's sucked me in from pretty much hour one onwards. I'm still currently playing it, even after writing this review, and I'm kind of just looking forward to filling out the edges of the map and completing the chiral network in a way that feels, I don't know, fun. As always, I hope you'll have a good rest of your day, good rest of your month, a good rest of your year. And I just have to say, for the first time, I highly recommend this game. This is a solid 9 out of 10. If you have a PS5, this is an experience you should at least try. This is definitely going to be in the game of the generation contention because, I mean, it's beautiful. The story is great. And, I mean, it's a Kojima game, so you know it's going to be made with quality. But, as always, I will see y'all next time. And just remember, if you see my name out on these mean streets in the continent of Australia, some of these maps and stuff, give your boy a like. It goes very far. Anyways, love y'all. Have a good rest of your day.